Hello, and welcome to the Hachette Book Group Kids and Young Adult Fall 2025 Winter 2026 preview. I'm Sarah Hunter, Books for Youth and Graphic Novels editor at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, please look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of them at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. We have a wonderful program planned for you today, and we'll hear about some new Hachette titles later in the webinar, but we'll kick off today's event with presentations from our special author guests. So without further ado, I will pass the mic over to Laura Lutz, School and Library Marketing Manager for Workman Running Press Group, to introduce our first guest.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to introduce you to Danna Smith. She's the award-winning author of the upcoming Workman Kids picture book ZENGUIN, illustrated by Sydney Hansen. And a fun fact about Danna, I loved reading this on her website. Her father, a falconer and dedicated animal expert, frequently brought bobcats, alligators, and even vultures into her home growing up. I think that's such a fun fact, and it seems so natural that she has written a book about penguins. I can't wait for you all to meet her. Danna, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. First, I want to talk a little bit about who I am. I'm a full-time writer, and I'm living in Northern California with my grown kids and grandkids. I started writing poems when I was young, maybe about 8 years old. I wrote my first short story when I was 10 and my first picture book when I was 17. That was in a creative writing class in high school, and that's when I fell in love with picture books all over again. It wasn't until I was grown with children that I published, and it's been a dream job for me. It's just a lovely way to spend my days dreaming up stories and sharing them with kids. The inspiration for ZENGUIN, it started out as most of my books do, with wordplay. I like to take words and play with them and find a title that's fun and then build a story around it. So when I landed on ZENGUIN, I thought, okay, who is this little guy? Who is this ZENGUIN penguin? And of course, he had to be Zen. But I thought it was a great opportunity for me to, I guess, write about an issue that I deal with and that a lot of other adults and children deal with, and that's how the world can be incredibly noisy and fast-paced sometimes anxiety. We don't know how to calm the storm within. And so I let ZENGUIN be the catalyst for the story. And in this beautiful book, we meet a penguin, and he lives in a big bustling colony. He has so much going on, the squawking of the penguins and the crashing of the waves and the barking of the seals, and his world is full of noise. He sometimes feels overwhelmed, and but the problem is he doesn't know how to find peace or calm inside. So he remembers some of his friends talking about how they feel calm. So he went to see Blue Whale. And he says to Bluewell, how do you look so calm? And Bluewell says, I breathe in and out. I take a deep breath in and slow breath out. And he teaches ZENGUIN how to do belly breathing. And ZENGUIN practices and tries until he feels calmer too. But he doesn't stop there. He goes and talks to Seal and says, how do you look so calm? And Seal says, I do yoga. And stretching in the quiet makes me feel strong inside and out. And so ZENGUIN tries different poses until he feels calmer too. Then he goes and sees Gull. And Gull is raking the snow in his little Zen garden. And he says, how do you feel so calm or look so calm? And Gull said, it's my Zen garden. I come here to relax. And so when ZENGUIN steps into the garden, he feels relaxed too. And just around that moment, he hears his little sister Pip, and she's in trouble. And he has practiced being Zen for a little while, and he has maybe the hang of it. So he rushes to his little sister, and she's been knitting, and she's wrapped herself up in her knitting yarn because of a big gust of wind that came by. And she's panicking, and she's tangled up, and the more she panics, the more tangled she gets. And he says, this is how we feel Zen. And he slowly picks the yarn and releases her. And his little sister name is Pip. And he says, this is how we feel Zen. And she is released, and she says, Pip, Pip, hooray. And she's excited, and they both work together. And ZENGUIN was able to pay what he learned forward. And it's a great lesson. Now, Pip, I have to say, is so cute. Big shout out to illustrator Sydney Hansen, who brought the characters in my text alive. ZENGUIN and all of his friends are just beautiful, and Pip with her little pink bow is cute. And she also incorporated a color palette that is calming, with blues and greens and purples. It really adds to the feeling of calm in the book. I think this book is more than just a sweet story about a penguin. It's a powerful social, emotional learning lesson or tool for children growing up in a world that can feel incredibly noisy and fast-paced. So, which brings me to the back matter of the book, which is called Finding Calm with ZENGUIN. And it shows kids that it's okay to have these big feelings sometimes, and you have it within yourself to calm yourself and get centered. And not only the belly breathing, which is what ZENGUIN practices in the story, but the back of the book talks about other techniques kids can use, like drawing your feelings and using color to talk about your emotions, which sometimes kids can't use words to explain their emotions. So colors are a great thing, and drawing is a great thing for the kids to express how they're feeling. Also, to give your fingers a job so that you can quiet your mind. That's a great technique for kids. And also just to give yourself a hug. Wrap your arms around yourself and remind yourself that you are loved and you're safe. So I hope everybody enjoys reading ZENGUIN and sharing it with kids.
Thank you, Danna. Kate Micucci is an Emmy-nominated songwriter, comedian, and actor who has voiced characters in numerous animated series and appeared in hit TV series too, including The Big Bang Theory and Raising Hope, as well as feature films. Her debut children's album, My Hat, came out in 2023, and she regularly performs live with her puppet Camille at spots around the country. She's the latest author to join the Mo Willems Elephant and Piggie Like Reading series with her book, The Monster and Puppet Show. Here to tell us all about it and joining us today from New York City, say hello to Kate Micucci.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Chris. Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I'm Kate Micucci, and I'm just thrilled to be talking to you today. Oh, hi. Hi, how are you, everybody? I didn't expect to see you here today, Camille. Yeah, my name is Camille, and I was the inspiration for this book that they're going to be talking about today. That's right. Yeah. Camille. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a little thrown. I had no idea that Camille was going to be here. It's so good to see you. Well, yeah, it's nice to be here. Okay. I'm going to ask the questions. All right, everybody. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's great. We'll let Camille ask the questions. Okay. All right. Kate, very nice to be here today, everyone. What was your first experience with the library? Oh, that's a very good question, Camille. Well, I'm sure you hear this a lot as librarians, but the library is really where my love of reading and writing began. And I was very lucky that my mom always every week took my brother and I to the local library with giant canvas bags, and we could go and pick whatever we wanted. And then, it was just a weekly activity. I learned to love the library, go to the events that they had. And also, I'm a very big Broadway nerd. And it was also where I would raid the tapes and Fiddler on the Roof and Oliver, Phantom of the Opera. We were always getting music from the library as well. So I think that a big part of who I am and the things that I make started with my mom bringing my brother and I to the library. So I'm really grateful for that. I always loved books that made me laugh. Amelia Bedelia is a really big one. And I'm so excited because I have a 5-year-old son named Mikey. His name is Mikey Marvin Sinclair. And someone told me that sounds like a character in a children's book. And I was like, that is true. So Mikey Marvin, I read Amelia Bedelia to him now. And it's still so funny to me. So I don't know. It's just one of my favorites growing up. Also, there was a book at the local library in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, and it was written by a middle schooler, and it was illustrated. It was just a handwritten book, and I loved this book so much because it really made me go, "Oh wow! You can write a book, and then it can end up in the library." And also, big props to the librarian who was kind enough to file this book into the library shelves, and that was just a really kind of inspiring thing for me to be like, oh, this is all possible. So so that's what the library really has meant to me as a kid and as a grown up. And okay, yeah, that was good, Kate. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Camille. Okay, so here's my next question. All right. The Monster and Puppet Show, your book, yeah, is an elephant and piggy like reading book. Can you please tell us a little bit about that? I personally love Mo Willems. Can you please tell me a little bit about your collaboration? Oh, yeah, sure. That's another great question. Thank you. So I've always been a huge fan of Mo. I first discovered him, there was this little store in Santa Monica where it was called Every Picture Tells a Story. And they had all this really cool artwork, and they had some of Mo's art, and then they had his first books. And this was early 2000s. And I remember reading them and going, this is so funny. This is just, it really spoke to me, as of course, all of Mo's books do, but I was just taken with the style and the humor. And I was a fan for such a long time. And then about 10 years ago, I was asked to do one of Mo's shows at Sketchfest in San Francisco, where I performed with a bunch of actors alongside Mo. And it was such a blast, and we became friendly. And then I guess I've always been writing books. I've always written children's books. Kind of everything I make sort of comes out of me in a way that I think is just naturally for kids. And I recently, well, 2 years ago, I had lung cancer, and not to make this serious or anything, I got very, very fortunate that it was found early, and I'm okay now. But something like that really made me go, wait, I have all these ideas. I'm sitting on all these books I've written. I should ask Mo for advice, because he'd always said, if you need advice, feel free to ask. And so I reached out to Mo, and I'm so glad I did, because it has then led us to, making this book and the Monster and Puppet Show, inspired by my love of puppets. And it's very cool that it gets to be under the Mo Willems world, and I'm thrilled about that. So I'm very grateful. Okay, well, let me see if Camille wants to ask another question. I do. Okay, great. Okay, so you were talking about puppets. Kate, what do puppets mean to you? Oh, okay. Well, funny you should ask, Camille. I love puppets, always have. I think I wanted to be an actor, but I was really shy, so I thought, oh, I'll just be a puppeteer, and then people won't have to see me. And then I kind of grew out of my shell. But I do a show at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater in Los Angeles, and Camille sometimes performs there. I do. It's very fun. And I think, yeah, I love bringing things to life. And I think with puppets, you get to do that just like that, like you really get to take something and give it life, and that is essentially what a puppet is. Okay, I have no idea what you mean by that last comment. I don't understand. Oh, that's okay, Camille. You don't really need to understand that part. Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, all right, last question. Please tell us about your book, The Monster and Puppet Show. Oh, okay, that's another great question. Well, The Monster and Puppet Show it's a really fun book, and it's an early reader, so it makes me very excited to think that kids will be learning to read while reading my book. And I illustrated it, and it's about a monster who happens to meet a puppet, and I think it's just really fun. I hope that people just have a good time reading it. There's a chance when reading this book to sort of act it out as it goes along. So you can tell the jokes, you can jump up and down, you can dance, you can sing. I have read it with my son numerous times, and he ends up acting it out. And that's really kind of the beauty of this book. It is really fun, and there's a little bit of a twist to it too. And I don't expect, it's not like a Talented Mr. Ripley twist or like a Sixth Sense. It's a much tinier twist, but it's a little twist, and I think it's really fun. So yeah, I'm really excited about this book. I'm so excited that I can say that I'm an author now, and just thrilled. So thanks for the opportunity to listen. And I was going to try to paste this on the wall today, but none of the tape was sticking. So here you go. There's the cover. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kate and Camille. I am so excited to introduce Maynard Okereke of Hip Hop Science. He is an award-winning science communicator who has been featured on the Science Channel, Netflix's Ada Twist Scientist, and has partnered with NASA, the Natural History Museum, and more. He's here today to talk about his upcoming collection of fascinating and strange stories of scientific research called Zombie Spiders and Asteroid Blasters. Over to you, Maynard.
Okay, I'm here, but for some reason my camera decided to not be here. Double checking what's going on here.
We can hear you okay. So
you can hear me, okay.
Yeah, we're all set.
But for some reason, you're not seeing me.
We can just keep the slide up if you want to start without video.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just turn it off and then let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, awesome. We're in action. All right, Apologies, technical difficulties, but that's what happens when we do live stuff, right? It's a pleasure to meet everyone. My name is Maynard Okereke. Some of you may know me as the Hip Hop MD or possibly Maynard from Maynard's Wild World of Science, my YouTube kids show. I am a first-time author, so it is incredibly exciting to be a part of this series and talk to you guys a little bit more about myself and a little bit about my book and the inspiration behind my book. So thank you so much for having me, and it's been incredible hearing from some of the other authors so far today. A little bit of background about myself. I have a background degree in civil and environmental engineering from the University of Washington in Seattle. Go Dogs. And I worked as an engineer for a number of years, doing heavy infrastructure work, stadiums, high rises. And it was an area that I'd gone into, not initially as my passion, but as a lover of STEM and a lover of technology. I fell into it. My original goal was actually to become a wildlife biologist. And I remember telling people when I first got to college what I wanted to study, and everybody was like, "You want to do wildlife biology? You want to sit up in trees and look at animals all day?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do." And ironically, I got talked out of it by a lot of educators, a lot of peers, counselors. They're like, "Oh, you need to do something that you can get a certified career in. You need to do computer science, you need to do engineering." And that mindset really stuck with me. And obviously I was fortunate to graduate with my degree and had an amazing career doing that work. But I always thought about what I was initially curious about and what initially sparked my curiosity. And if there's one key thing to take away from this book and kind of overall the work that I do, it's all about sparking curiosity and excitement. And so as a lover of STEM, I was also into a lot of other things too as well. I was big into entertainment, music, and acting were always a big passion of mine, but I never really had a chance to explore my creative elements. I never really had a chance to really dive into my creative juices. And so I ended up resigning from my position as an engineer after a couple of years. I made the leap of faith to Los Angeles, is where I'm at now, to pursue some opportunities in entertainment. And through that, I ended up starting this science communication platform called Hip Hop Science, where I use music, entertainment, and comedy as tools to help educate on a wide variety of scientific topics. And it started because people were always asking me, "How do you know all these random facts? How do you know all this information?" Whatever circles I was in, people were always fascinated about my knowledge in different areas of science. And for me, I was always just fascinated about the wonders of the natural world and things around us. And so I ended up diving into the sketch comedy character, which was the Hip Hop MD, who would break down random science facts in weird, inappropriate situations. And it ended up snowballing into this whole STEM education platform where I have a chance to travel across the world, inspiring youth to pursue more advanced careers in STEM and showcasing people the wonders and the fascination of what a career in STEM can take you. And that was kind of really the inspiration of this book, Zombie Spiders and Asteroid Blasters, 16 Incredible Ways That Scientists Are Changing the World. This was a culmination of people that I'd followed for maybe a number of years or maybe met through my science communication work online, being inspired about the work that they do, being fascinated about all the different opportunities and all the different things that they did to keep their interest vested in their careers. And so that was the inspiration behind this book. And I ended up meeting with a bunch of scientists. I did interviews with them, talked about their inspiration, talked about what kept them engaged, how they got into their areas of work. And the very title of this, Zombie Spiders, was actually inspired by one of the engineers that I talked to, who actually came up with this new technology of necrobotics using dead spiders as robots. And that absolutely blew my mind. And I did a fun little educational science video on my social media platform that went really viral, and people were just mind blown that this was an actual thing. And for me, that was always something that I always wanted to highlight, was unique scientific discoveries and breakthroughs that scientists were doing research in, really obscure areas that people would have no idea that scientists are actually doing that work in. And so that zombie spider discovery is really what spearheaded this book. And I started talking to scientists that are doing unique work in all other research areas. And the big thing about this book is not even just the fascination of these incredible things that scientists are doing, but getting a chance to learn about the scientists themselves and what inspired them. One of the doctors that I talked to in this book, she's an avian ecologist, and she does amazing work on crows. And one of the elements of her story that she talked to me about was how she had ADHD growing up and she can never focus or pay attention. And birds were the only thing that kept her engaged. And so I share a lot of stories like that as well, a lot of Q&A with the scientists about different things that they went through and different ways that they kept engaged and kept the curiosity high and kept them intrigued in doing their work. And for me, that's the biggest takeaway for students that are reading this book, is to think about all the possibilities that are out there, all the amazing things that you can do with a career in science, and not to let anything that's limiting you or opportunities. You might be living in the desert, never have access to the ocean, and want to become a marine biologist. We have scientists in this book that have done that as well. And so for me, that's the biggest takeaway. And it's so cool for me to be able to so cool for me to be able to have this opportunity to be able to share this with the world, because all the different things that inspired me and it's all the different things that I'm excited about when it comes to science, technology, engineering, and math. And to be able to share this with the world is absolutely amazing. And so I'm super excited about this. This is launching in March. And like I said, it's my first book, first venture in the author world. And I'm just excited for students to get their hands on this and to be able to get fascinated by the world of science, just like I have, and think about ways that they continue to spark curiosity in themselves and to be able to connect with the world in a whole different way. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to be able to share this knowledge with all of you. And hopefully we see this in libraries all across the world very soon. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maynard. I have to read more about the zombie spiders. And thank you, Kate. I was completely delighted by Camille the Puppet. Hi, everyone. Thank you to the authors for being here. I am so excited to introduce Ryan Bani Tahmaseb. You all might know Ryan as the author of Rostam's Picture Day Pastine and the 21st Century School Library, but he's also an educator and mythology superfan who's coming out with a new middle grade collection this fall, Persian Mythology, Epic Stories of Gods, Heroes, and Monsters. I'll pass it over to Ryan to tell you all about his forthcoming book.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I'm obviously a children's author, and I'm also a longtime educator as well. I worked as a middle school English teacher, an academic advisor, and as a school librarian at the K-8 level. And then a few years ago, my family and I moved from the Boston area to the coast of Maine, which is when I started my own academic coaching practice. And so now I work virtually with kids and teens, mostly grades 3 through 12, helping them with reading, writing, and executive functioning skills. I also do some writing for educational organizations and occasionally teach adult writers as well. In terms of my books, I have 2 published so far. My first one came out several years ago, and it's a professional development book for educators called the 21st Century School Library. And then my first book for kids came out last year. It's a picture book titled Rostam's Picture Day Pastine, which is definitely one that's close to my heart because it's a fictionalized version of an event that occurred in my dad's life not long after he moved to the US as a young Iranian-American immigrant. And that book has been chosen by Bank Street as one of their best books of the year. And it was also chosen by the Maine Humanities Council to represent the state of Maine at the National Book Festival this year, which my family and I were lucky enough to attend a few weeks ago and was super fun. I'm really grateful for how that book has launched me into the world of children's literature. In terms of how I came to write a book on Persian mythology, I always loved reading Greek and Roman myths as a kid. And in fact, learning about those myths is one of the few topics I remember loving or really remember at all from elementary school. And then many, many years later, during my last year as a school librarian, I was reading and researching some Persian myths and folktales. And the more I read, the more I became fascinated by them. And thinking as a librarian, of course, I realized that there should be a Persian mythology book for middle grade readers. I mean, I knew that this age group still loved Rick Riordan's books, especially the Percy Jackson series, which are, of course, retellings of the ancient Greek myths. They also love, series like Tristan Strong and Aru Shah, which are part of the Rick Riordan Presents series. And so the author and me decided to give it a shot. And now it's almost here. And it's been such a delight to work on it with the whole team at Running Press Kids. So as you can see here, the book's full title is Persian Mythology, Epic Stories of Gods, Heroes, and Monsters. And each story stands on its own, but at the same time, they're all interconnected. And I did this to try to follow in the tradition of Persian storytelling, such as the 1001 Nights, where there's a larger narrative made up of many smaller ones. And the stories themselves are a mix of both myths and legends. Next slide, please. So in the introduction to the book, I share how growing up, I was regularly around Persian art, ate Persian food, but I really didn't know much about Iranian history or culture. But when I started writing my own stories a few years, several years ago, I kind of naturally found myself wanting to learn more about Iran, which again is the country where my father came from. And in terms of the writing process, I should start by saying that I hadn't written middle grade before, so it took me a while to figure out how I wanted to retell these stories, what voice to use, and which myths and legends to include. And I realized pretty early on, though, that I wanted to start with the creation of the world and end with its ultimate disruption and renewal. And so once I settled on that, I had a clear idea, or a clear starting and ending point. With that in mind, I decided to go chronologically and start with stories of the gods and then transition to life on Earth and the more human-centric stories. And in general, I also tried to strike the right balance of different kinds of stories. Like there's a lot of action in these myths, and some of it's quite violent. So I also wanted to include some that were more gentle, and there's even a love story. As I mentioned, I also gave myself the extra challenge of wanting the stories to work independently, but also to be a part of a greater whole. I just want to also touch on the illustrations, which are such a beautiful, important part of the book. The illustrator is Reza Dalvand, who's an incredibly talented and internationally recognized artist. As you can see in the examples here, can we go to the next slide, actually? The illustrations are gorgeous. They're rich with symbolism, and like any good book with pictures, the pictures themselves interact with the text in really interesting and surprising ways. They're modeled after Persian miniatures, which is a kind of timeless form of painting that originated in Iran. And I can't wait for you to see more of Reza's work. Go to the final slide, please. I want to end by saying that these stories really have lasted through the ages for a reason. I found that they're not only entertaining, of course, but they're also full of wisdom. And I'm really excited to give young people an opportunity to learn about a totally different part of the world and the stories that come from that part of the world. Honestly, I hope that this book will help young people feel somewhat of a connection to Iran, which is a country that is, as I'm sure you know, so often demonized here in the USA. And finally, I just want to share two quick resources related to the book. The first of which is a teaching guide I co-created with the team at Running Press Kids, which includes discussion questions for the book, as well as activities. And that's currently up on the Hachette sales page for the book. And secondly, I wrote an essay on Persian myths and how I see them connecting to the current cultural moment here in the US. For anyone who's interested, that's currently up on the website LitHub. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for being here and for having me.
Thank you so much to Danna, Kate, Maynard, and Ryan for those fantastic presentations. And now we'll be joined by members of the Hachette team who will introduce a few titles from their fall and winter lists. First up is Rebecca Matheson. Rebecca is the marketing and publicity manager at Running Press Kids. She previously worked as a children's buyer for Joseph Fox Bookshop and in the licensed publishing division at Scholastic. She lives in Philadelphia, where she loves to promote and champion all things Running Press Kids. Thanks for joining us today, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you for that beautiful presentation, Ryan. Hello, everyone. At Running Press Kids, we aim to publish books that educate, entertain, and inspire. With a deep commitment to celebrating and empowering every child, I am thrilled to present a sneak peek of our forthcoming fall and winter list. Next slide, please, Sarah. Once upon a midnight dreary, our design team and illustrator Chloe Bristol came up with a picture book so eerie, you would swear Edward Gorey illustrated it himself. Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven comes to life for young readers in this enchanting new picture book of the classic spooky poem. As you can see on the slide here, this is already getting a lot of trade love. And to really appreciate it, you have to see the inside of it. So next slide, please. This published just 2 days ago. It's the perfect fall and Halloween read, and it's also a beautiful stepping stone year-round into the world of poetry for kids. Bristol perfectly captures Poe's haunting cadence and use of imagery in her candlelit red tones throughout the book. It's an ethereal and haunting new way to read Poe's beloved classic. I seriously love all the shadows and candlelight throughout the book. The illustrations are some of my favorite. Next slide, please. And if you've ever wanted to see a reindeer in a hard hat, and who hasn't, then Frank Tupta's new book should be on your list. You all most likely know Frank by his beloved library title, How to Build a Haunted House, and this time he turns his construction site toward the North Pole. Look out below. Next slide, please. Christmas Under Construction is out in October, and this fun and festive new picture book is sure to become a Christmas classic. School Library Journal urges librarians to add this one to the construction shelves, Christmas or not, and over here at Running Press Kids, we could not agree more. Next slide, please. Staying in the holiday spirit, I am so excited to present Once Upon a Kwanzaa by Sydney Rose McCall and Nyasha Williams, the beloved author of I Affirm Me. Framed around the 7 guiding principles, this is the perfect introduction to Kwanzaa for picture book readers. It has vibrant illustrations by Sawyer Cloud, and it includes resources like a glossary and pronunciation guide for young readers. As you can see on the screen, it's gotten a lot of love from the trades, including Booklist, and we're very excited to have it coming out next week, leading up into the holiday season. Next slide, please. And on to YA. We've been loving our nerdy YA reads over here at Running Press Teens. This September, we're continuing the tradition with Love and Video Games, Zachary Sergi's newest queer YA novel that feels like a blend between Ready Player One and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This book uses video games to create an incredibly moving metaphor for life. The plot revolves around the character Keegan, who has to level up his vulnerability and tell his friends, and of course crush, about the chronic pain he's kept hidden. I think teens will really be able to relate to the ways in which the characters use their time on and off screens to grow their connections to one another, because in a world full of complications, sometimes you just have to press start. It's also worth mentioning here, the audiobook is narrated by Jason June, who is of course a big name in the queer YA space and is also worth a listen. Next slide, please. And I'm going to end the YA section with a sneak peek of 2 forthcoming series that we're launching next year that we're extremely excited about at Running Press Kids. First, we're throwing it back to the 80s with a reimagining of the beloved character, Lady Lovely Locks. Drummed up by the creators behind Strawberry Shortcake and Care Bears, Lady Lovely Locks has recently found new fandom in the cosplay space. And with all the teen interest in this character, we're publishing a modern take by author Carrie Harris in collaboration with Cloudco. Snagged, a Lady Lovely Locks novel, introduces Leigh Carroll, a regular 16-year-old who lives in Philadelphia with her dad, works at a hardware store, and loves cosplay, until a vintage wig given to her by a mysterious lady at a Comic-Con convention magically turns her into Lady Lovely Locks for real. Snagged is up on NetGalley now for librarians only, so if you go request it there, I will give you access. You can also email me. Booklist will send around the emails, and I can send you a link. The second book, Tendrils, will be coming out next fall. Next slide, please. And to move from rainbows to midnight dreary, we are not done with Poe. I am thrilled to let you all know that Enola Holmes, know that there is a new detective in town. Introducing Ellen Poe, Edgar Allan Poe's great niece. Ellen Poe, The Forgotten Lore is one of my favorite YA novels we're publishing for so many reasons. With all the bricks and fallen leaves, it's the perfect dark academia read. It has a deep sense of place. It's basically a love letter to Baltimore. It's full of puzzles, cryptograms, a treasure hunt, a journal that needs deciphering, and yes, the ghost of Edgar Allan Poe continually appears with the annoying habit of speaking in cryptic verse right when Ellen needs help the most. Oh, and the love interest may or may not be dead. If you're already hooked, then I will let you know that I have early print galleys of this. The book is available for librarian request on NetGalley, and the second book in the series, Ellen Poe Forevermore, is slated to come out in fall 2026. So Ellen Poe and her deciphering ways are here to stay. Next slide, please. Oh, we're also releasing a library hardcover of Ellen Poe in tandem with the trade paperback that's coming out in the spring. And that concludes the Writing Press Kids Book Buzz. Thank you for all of your time. Over to Emma at Storey.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And now we'll hear from Emma Sector. Emma is the Senior Marketing Manager with Storey Publishing, a uniquely collaborative group of creatives focused on empowering nonfiction experts to reach their audience through books that are thoughtful, practical, and inspiring. Emma has been with Storey for just shy of 5 years and oversees the marketing for frontlist and backlist campaigns, working closely with authors to discover new readers. Take it away, Emma.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to share Storey's Fall 2025 highlights with you today. So next slide. But before we dive into the fall, I want to share some details here about Zombie Spiders and Asteroid Blasters, since I know it is now on everybody's TBR lists. The important things to know are the book goes on sale March 2026, and it's for ages 8 and up. Okay, in the next slide, we'll go from zombie spiders to zombie cupcakes, plus 49 other creative cupcake designs for any occasion. In Cupcake Class, from the best-selling cookbook authors, Deanna Cook and Joy Howard. On the next slide, you can see the array of cupcake designs, including pandas, basketballs, bugs, and more for bakers ages 8 to 10. We can turn to the next slide to see the friendly approach to professional level decorating tips and tricks. And next slide. A Cupcake Class is the 4th book in our kid-friendly cookbook series. Each features a kid-tested recipe with full-color photographs for every step, so young chefs can easily follow along. Okay, let's go to the next slide and venture into the forest. With an oversized trim and incredible lifelike illustrations and detail, the forest revealed is a portal that brings you deep into the woods for a year. In the next slide, you can see January's spread, which includes this slice of life illustration, along with a key to the left to identify the animals, insects, fungi, and plants portrayed. And when you flip the page, or turn to the next slide, you can zoom in on the scene and learn more about the creatures living above and below ground. Each month has spreads like these, and readers will watch the forest change through the seasons. In the next slide, we'll take a trip to Yellowstone National Park to follow a pack of wolves in what goes on inside a wolf pack for readers ages 8 to 10. The next slide shows an example of the vibrant graphic novel illustration style that gives both big picture and up-close looks at this wolf pack's life and environment. And then in the next slide, you can see an example of one of the side panels that enhances the story with more details about the Yellowstone ecosystem. Now, let's go and look at some much smaller wildlife in the next slide. Storey's beloved author-illustrator, Julia Rothman, is back with the latest addition to the Anatomy series. Insect Anatomy shows readers of all ages up-close details of hundreds of bugs. And on the next slide, we can see an example of her signature illustration style that offers a fresh perspective on familiar topics. You can see all the fun antennas here. The next slide shows her vibrant, colorful illustrations that are both detailed and charming. And if we flip to the next slide, you get to see the full Anatomy series, where you see she covers everything from the ocean to wildlife to food to farm. There's really something for everyone. So if you haven't checked out these books before, we hope you will. And that's it for me. So I'll hand it over to Sarah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Emma. Our next panelist will be Chris Vicari. Chris is the Director of School and Library and Retail Marketing at Union Square and Company, where he has worked since 1997. Songs atop the Billboard chart at that time were Bop by Hanson and Hypnotized by the Notorious B.I.G. He is a lifelong New Yorker, card-carrying member of the New York Public Library, and attends library conferences throughout the year. When not working, he likes watching movies and TV, running, cooking, trivia, drinking Dr. Pepper, eating Nilla wafers, and, of course, reading great books. Take it away, Chris.
Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. I am Chris Vicari of Union Square and Company. Starting off with some books just out on the next slide. The Adventures of Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast continue in Who Donut, a pun-filled tasty mystery held at the mansion of author Agatha Christie. Past Meets Present in the Clock by Pam Fong, a gorgeously illustrated nonfiction ode to the beauty of second chances. You better get ready because the shindig is coming in what Kirk has called a singularly beautiful book. And Real World Meets Supernatural Horrors in Empty Heaven, the second young adult book by Freddie Kolsch, author of the acclaimed Now Conjurers. On the next slide, coming in spring, we have It's My Bird Day. The pigeon has the hat and the hot dog cake. Next slide. But do you think the pigeon can handle his big bird day surprise? Get ready for a special celebration from Mo Willems. Next slide, please. Beginning, Middle, and End by John Bergerman. You can look live at Beginning, Middle, and End as they try to figure out who is the most important. Next slide. Beginning loves starting stories. Next slide. Middle thinks the middle is where the good stuff happens. Next slide. A fight ensues and they wake up End, who disappears as he doesn't like the arguing. But a book can't exist without the End, can it? Beginning and Middle set out to find End and they come to realize how much they need each other. Next slide, please. Junko's Climb, another entry in our People Who Shaped the World series. A fascinating account of Junko Tabei, the first woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest. She defied cultural expectations for women. Next slide, and was also dedicated to protecting and preserving wild places. This is author Alyssa Gavin's debut picture book. She will speak at Day of Dialogue on October 19th. Next slide. Well, you just heard from delightful Kate, Micucci, and Camille about the Monster and Puppet Show. It supports early reading, skill building, and is an ideal read-aloud book. Next slide, please. Reminder that the Elephant and Piggie Like Reading series has sold over 300,000 copies. Next slide. Caddy Corner Hits the Road, Book 3 in Julie Murphy's Caddy Corner series about big-hearted Caddy, who is half girl, half cat. It's road trip time, and she navigates traveling in close quarters with her best friend and grandma on the way to see her dream destination, the world's largest ball of yarn. Next slide, please. In the comics and graphic novel space, we have Huck and Hairball and the Litterbox Time Machine, an adventure story to entertain older middle grade readers. Huck is a cat who does not like change. He just likes hanging with his insecure best friend Hairball. Next slide. But when Hairball invents a time machine with hopes of gaining the respect of the scientific community, events occur that accidentally destroy the universe, and it's up to these unlikely heroes to save it. You may know author, illustrator Rich Moyer from the popular Ham Helsing graphic novel series. Next slide, please. For anyone looking for content about school bullying, we have Best Friend Worst Bully by May Yu. She continues her semi-autobiographical Lost and Found series with May, Maggie, and Sophie, who are three best friends forever. But on the first day of school, Maggie announces she's moving, and May and Sophie only have each other. Next slide, please. But soon, Sophie behaves very differently, saying hurtful things. What's going on? Why is her friend Sophie now acting like her bully? With the help of her teacher and new friends, May learns what real friendship truly is and how to stand up for yourself. Next slide, please. Sayun and Dean Unscripted by Seattle's own Sujin Witherspoon, whose first YA novel, Bingsu for Two, was called a standout debut and a star from Booklist. In this, her second book, a wilderness reality game show, gets teens Sayun and Dean to compete for $1 million prize. They form an alliance, which money-hungry producers are quick to frame as romantic. It's great clickbait after all, and their chemistry is just for show, or is it? As the lines blur between reality and reality TV, Sayun and Dean know the finale is fast approaching and that only one of them can win. Next slide, please. Also a young adult, Winter White by Annie Carty, a reimagining of Winter's Tale, full of tragedy, triumph, and forbidden romance, set in rural Maine against the backdrop of the opioid epidemic. Next slide. And lastly, more new titles across age groups in our Everyone Can Be a Reader series, featuring dyslexia-friendly fonts, or good for anyone who is a reluctant reader. More than 50, several with starred reviews. Check them out, please. Next slide, please. My friends, those are the books, and that's the way it is today, September 25th, 2025. Thank you all. Here is your next presenter.
Thank you so much, Chris. Our final panelist will be Laura Lutz. Laura is the School and Library Marketing Manager for Workman Running Press Group. Prior to working in publishing, she was a school librarian in New York City for 8 years, as well as working in public libraries across the country. Laura served on both the 2022 Caldecott Award and the 2017 Newbery Award committees. She has also reviewed books for the New York Times and School Library Journal. Take it away, Laura.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Lutz, School and Library Marketing Manager at Workman Kids, and I'll be sharing the last of our titles today. I'm so excited, and I love seeing so many familiar names in the list of attendees. So hi to all of those I've met before, and I look forward to meeting those I haven't yet. So time is short, so let's get started. Next slide, please. First up is my personal favorite of our middle grade titles, Did You Hear What Happened in Salem by Katie Kennedy. In her first book in a new series, Katie takes us to the Massachusetts Bay Colony, 1692, when a doctor falsely said a group of girls were bewitched. The village erupted in accusations, suspicion, and fear, and by the end, dozens of lives had been ruined and 20 people were dead. Next slide. Readers will be on the edge of their seats to find out how it ends, and of course how the lessons of 1692 are still relevant to our world today. In its star review, SLJ said, quote, readers who appreciate haunting true crime tales will find this title in the Did You Hear What Happened series irresistible. Next slide, please. And we love Katie Kennedy at Workman. She is the authority on nonfiction for young people. Check out her backlist with Presidents and Constitution Decoded, with Declaration Decoded coming in 2026, and look for the next book in the Did You Hear What Happened series featuring the Alamo in 2026 as well. Next slide. We heard from Danna earlier, but I wanted to show you some wonderful interiors from this book, as well as like all the information here as far as when the book comes out, etc. Next slide. Oh, look at that. So sweet. Perfect for kids who simply love penguins, as well as readers seeking calming strategies and other life skills. ZENGUIN is pitch perfect for the ever-growing mindfulness movement. Next slide. Let's go to the library. Baby loves looking at books, listening to story time, and bringing home favorites in this joyful book that celebrates literacy and libraries. Plus, it's indestructible. It's rip-proof, drool-proof, and 100% washable, perfect for baby story times, daycare outreach, new parent kits, and more. And we're also excited to offer editions in simplified Chinese and Spanish. Next slide. First night at Dad's. Henry feels a little nervous. It still seems strange that Dad doesn't live with him and his mom anymore, that they're getting a divorce. But now he's going to spend the night at his dad's new house, and that's even stranger. Next slide. This touching and much needed book will reassure any children going through their own family shifts that change can be managed and they are not alone. Next slide. I'm so excited to introduce a companion book to the best-selling World Without Fish by Mark Kurlansky, World Without Birds by Nick Lund. Organized by ecosystem, each chapter offers an overview of the birds in that environment, then case studies of both one avian species that's gone extinct and one whose numbers have recovered, balancing honesty and optimism for young readers. Next slide. Filled with richly illustrated bird guides for each ecosystem, World Without Birds shares a hidden, true story of danger, discovery, and hope. Next slide. Be Yourself and Other Bad Advice. As the co-founder of Amy Poehler's Smart Girls and head of the talent department at SNL, Meredith Walker has spent years sharing ideas that feel real, relevant, and approachable to young people. Now she's written a whole guide devoted to helping teen girls discover who they are, feel their feels, and develop their confidence. Compact, insightful, and full of warm wisdom, with a foreword by Amy Poehler, Be Yourself and Other Bad Advice is the perfect book for any reader letting go of the old rules to create a life that's truly their own. Next slide. Woohoo! And that concludes Hachette's preview. We've included our contact information on our slides, and we look forward to hearing from you. And now we turn it over back to Booklist.
Thank you so much, Laura, and a huge thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, slide presentation, title list, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now Blue Sky. Going to AASL in St. Louis, swing by the Booklist booth number 214 and say hi. We'll have free copies of our latest magazines, buttons, Reader's Advisory Fortune Tellers, and our popular Reader Recommendation Wheel and book giveaways. Hope to see you there. Thank you again for joining us for today's webinar, and another huge thank you to our panelists and author guests, Danna, Kate, Maynard, Ryan, and our sponsors, Hachette Book Group and its imprints, Running Press Kids, Storey Publishing, Union Square Kids, and Workman Kids. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.